Hi everyone, it's Andrea. Hope this video finds you well. I have a really sweet project for us today that I think will be perfect for Valentine's Day, Easter, Mother's Day, or anyone's birthday. So it is a sweet little fabric gift box which has a nice long tie on the top that you can fashion in a bow or in a knot. There is plenty of room for you to add a embellished gift tag to this. And what I really like about this is it has a 4-petal flap closure, so you can skip the tissue paper because there will be no peeking with this sweet little box. So this is a great scrap buster, and I think you have a lot of ways that you can customize this depending upon your fabric selections. All right, so I'm going to show you step by step how to sew this little beauty. Shall we get started? Okay, so for this project you are going to need 10 5x5 squares. 5 of those are for the exterior and 5 of those are for the interior. You are going to need one very long strip, which is 2 inches wide by the full width of the fabric, so that will probably be 40 plus inches. And then you are going to need 8 rectangles that are 5 by 4. 4 of those will be for the interior and 4 will be for the exterior. So we are going to begin by crafting the interior and the exterior. We'll use the same method. It's called the modified T method, and I have already pre-crafted the interior. My interior is crafted from quilt weight cotton, and then I back that with some Petal 808 to give it a little bit of body. My exterior is crafted from a home decor fabric, and I did not put any interfacing on that. So to begin, we will place 2 of the 5x5 squares right sides facing using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, stitch down the right hand side. Open that up, bring over a 3rd square and position that over the center and stitch down the right hand side. That will give you a tri-folding panel, which you can bump up for a moment. Take your remaining 2 exterior squares, position those right sides facing, and stitch across the base. That gives you a bifolding panel. Bring back over the tri-folding panel and position the bifolding panel on top of that, centering that along that center panel so you have 3/8 of an inch seam allowance on each side, and you can feel that seam, and then you will stitch across that base seam to seam. So you're going to start in 3/8 of an inch and stop 3/8 of an inch from the edge. You'll want to back stitch at the beginning and the end to reinforce all of these seams. That will net you this large T, hence why I call this the T method. The modification comes in when we stand up these sides. We will be now stitching seam to seam across each side. So I have one side attached. Now I'll repeat that process for the second side. Now my stage is set, and I just need to raise up that remaining side. I'll start here by aligning the top and the bottom, and I'll stitch from the top to the seam. Repeat that for that final corner. And now I have a nice cube here. I'm going to go ahead and turn this right side out, poke out those corners, and then I will be opening the seams So one piece of material falls to each side, and I'm going to turn that edge inward a ½ inch, and you can pin or clip if needed. Go around all 4 corners, opening those interior seams and folding over the edge. And then you should be able to come across each side and finger press that. If needed, you can put a clip at center. Okay, you're going to repeat that exact same process to craft the interior, and you will leave the interior wrong side out and turn that top edge over a ½ inch. If you use the Petal 808, that finger presses beautifully for you. Then you can fit that interior inside of the exterior. And it is the interior that will offer this its structure. I like to align each corner seam first. And then come back in and fit that. Okay, at this point I have a super cute cube. If you wanted to stop here, you certainly could. Just sew right around the perimeter and you have a darling cube that you could fold over the top edge and have a nice contrast. It would be really cute for a variety of things. Another option would be to add tiny handles on 2 of the sides, and you would have a really sweet little fabric basket. We are going to take this project next level, and we are going to add flaps on all 4 sides and a tie-up closure. So this is a darling gift box that will be perfect for Valentine's Day, Easter, Mother's Day, or a birthday. So the flaps are crafted from the 5 by 4 inch rectangles, and you'll have 2 of those for each flap. I used the quilt weight cotton on the interior, and that was backed with the Petal 808, and then the same home decor for the exterior. So you will position your rectangles right sides facing, and for that first pair you will fold that in half and then take your scissors and angle that edge. Once you get that first pair angled, then you will use that as your template and come across the remaining 3 pairs and mark that corner so that your angles are identical. So I have marked this one here because I have pre-sewn mine. And so all I have to do is trim this slightly, and you're just looking to get a nice angle. Now using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, stitch along this edge across the top and back around. You're going to leave the bottom open to turn this right side out. All right, once you have stitched around that, then come in and just clip. Be careful not to cut the stitching. Just clip those corners, and this will allow you to turn this right side out and press so that you have a nice rounded flap. And then once you have pressed, you should have a pretty little flap. Then go ahead and top stitch around those finished edges using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And in total, you will need 4 of those identical flaps. Then you will take each flap and insert that on each side in between the interior and the exterior layers, and you're just tucking that down in there about a ½ inch. I do find it is easier at this point to transition to some nice long pins. And it is okay for your flaps to overlap slightly on the corners. That is no problem. You should now have something that very much looks like a pretty flower petal. It's just darling. You want to make sure that your flaps are all level and nice and straight there. This print helps a lot because I can line up the pattern. So my machine deck does not separate. This is just one piece, but if you can remove that machine deck for this part, you're going to carefully position the project up under the presser foot, and you can lift up the presser foot in the back here to give yourself a little bit more leverage. And I like to start in slightly from one of the side seams, and you're going to need to go nice and slow all the way around this. Okay, I have made it all the way around the edge. All of my little petal flaps are securely attached, and cover the top of this when they are folded beautifully. So the next step is to craft the tie closure, which will hold these flaps in place and add a little more detail to the sweet project. So that is crafted from a very long piece of material. I will give you my exact measurements on this. Mine is 42 inches long, and I have taken the short edges and pressed that over 1/2 inch. Then I press the entire strap long ways, brought those outer edges inward to meet on that center press line, and then folded that over again to create a narrow 1/2 inch strap that is finished on both ends. So I want to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance and stitch all the way down this strap. Okay, now I have a lovely strap, which I want to determine where the center point is on that. And so I'm just going to put a pin right in that so I know exactly where center is on this. And so I want this little tie going right across the base there. You can definitely pin that in place. Just be careful not to poke yourself. It is sufficient even just to poke that needle straight up in there. We're just temporarily holding that at center so that we can turn this around and bring those straps up along the side and then center that at the side. And this is where we can put the pin through all of those layers and get a more secure hold. And we're going to repeat that on the other side. We just want to bring up this little strap, run it right up that side, and pin it at center. I think it's easier to come long ways with that pin. Then we're going to put this back up on the machine deck and back stitch right across that little strap where that top stitching is to secure that strap to this side panel. And now you should have your little ties attached just at the top there. This is unattached all the way across the base. This little tie will add some more structure and stability to the base of this, and you certainly could craft the tie from the interior print and have a little contrast there. Then the way this works is you will fold over the sides that do not have the tie first. And it might be good initially to pre-press those so they kind of lay nice there along that edge. So you have those two flaps. Then you'll bring over each of the remaining flaps. And then this is when the tie comes in. And you can create a little bow with that, or you could simply knot it, but it is definitely long enough to create a little bow. And of course, the contents will offer this box even more structure. And you could put a little gift tag on there. Another option, if you have a rivet press, you could install some rivets on each side, and perhaps a little metal gift tag would be really darling. So that is how this project comes together. I think this will be lovely for Valentine's Day, Easter, Mother's Day, or birthdays. So finished, this cube is 4 1/4 by 4 1/4, and it is 4 inches tall. It would hold a nice collection of small treasures. Yay, that was so fun. It turned out really cute. And again, I think you could have a blast with your fabric selections for this. If you happen to have machine embroidery capabilities, I could definitely see how you could incorporate a monogram or some additional embellishments on the 2 side panels that do not have the tie. You could even possibly do something fun here, slip a little note card or message underneath this tie. You might even be able to incorporate like a little charm. Imagine a little heart charm on there. You could thread beads on this tie. This is just really the beginning for a darling gift that will keep on gifting because it is reusable. So thank you for spending this time in the studio with me today. I am looking forward to seeing your gift boxes and what you plan to fill them up with and who you will be gifting them to. I'll link to my social media down in the notes for you, as well as Studio 365, which is my new creative platform. We will be having many sew-togethers during 2023. So if you would enjoy sewing alongside of other creative hearts located all over the world, be sure to check out Studio 365. Likewise, we are also taking a challenge to organize our creative spaces. So if your space could use a little sprucing up, you're invited to join us at Studio 365 and take back your creative space. So until we meet again, I hope you all have a beautiful week, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for sewing with me today.